In this report, Volkswagen Monkeygate. It's beyond Orwellian. I'm John Cadogan from AutoExpert.com.au, the place where Aussie new car buyers save thousands off their next new cars. Hit me up on the website for that. The tortured monkeys coming up. Here's the backstory. This landed in my lap kind of tangentially. I was looking into the way Volkswagen Australia seems to be painting itself inexorably into a corner labelled Hyundai's bitch. Michael Barsh, the boss of Volkswagen here, at times seems to forget that discretion is the better part of valour. Earlier, he had, personal opinion, something of a minor vinegar tits tantrum when he publicly declared, "I don't think anyone wakes up in the morning saying they're aspiring to own a Korean car." I'd suggest that's bullshit because 15% of vehicles sold in Australia last year were South Korean. That country is our third largest source of new cars behind Japan and Thailand. Some people must have aspired to owning something like, I don't know, a Renault Koleos, which is made there. Anyway, almost 176,000 South Korean cars were sold here in Australia last year, so in my view, that comment is spectacularly out of touch. More recently, Hyundai procured the former chief of BMW's M division, Albert Biermann. And I'm tipping he's a chap who really knows his way around a performance car. Poaching the top German car dudes is getting to be a real thing with Hyundai Kia. Former Audi design luminary Peter Schreier worked out so well for them after all. Anyway, former M dude Mr. Biermann is now the big cheese at Hyundai's N performance arm, and he commented in a recent interview about the track performance of the Volkswagen Golf GTI, which the upcoming i30N will compete against directly. Biermann called the GTI a great car, but after 2 laps, the fun is over. I think mainly Mr. Biermann was referring to the GTI's brakes. In fairness, racetracks are very taxing on brakes. Killing the brakes in 2 laps is not uncommon when you put most road cars on racetracks. Given Mr. Biermann's comments though, it's pretty safe to assume the i30N will offer pretty good brake performance, or else they'll be ordering in some industro-spec egg-on-face wipes, won't they? Of course, Big Bad Barsh threw self-restraint aside again, seemingly, and tantrumed, in my view, right back at them, defending Hitler's other big legacy down under by declaring Volkswagen's cars to be the most accomplished, fast and fun cars in the world. A Donald Trumpian outburst right there, ontologically indefensible, yes, but fun to watch, like a contact sport, minus the blood. Mainly this is entertaining because if you really are superior, you just wouldn't feel compelled to defend yourself endlessly. So I go to Google, as you do, to confirm the latest on this tantrum cum stoush, and this headline jumps right out at me. VW apologises for fumes tests on monkeys. I thought, really? Do tell. VW has apologised for forcing 10 monkeys to breathe in diesel engine fumes to test their toxicity in emissions tests that have since been discredited. The New York Times broke the story. Monkeygate. It is shocking and beyond the capacity of fiction. I couldn't make it up. Apparently, American Volkswagen assholes in Albuquerque, New Mexico locked 10 monkeys in airtight gas chambers and gave them cartoons to watch to entertain them while they were force-fed the exhaust from a diesel Volkswagen Beetle. I'm not kidding. They actually did this. There is no doubt. I don't know what it is about these fuckers and the fascination for poison gas. This is not a joke, but in case you are not a casual observer of 21st century history, let's detain ourselves. Adolf Hitler was Chancellor of Germany from 1933 to 1945. Most people remember Hitler for his other accomplishments, but he was also the driving force behind the establishment of Volkswagen from about 1934, although it wasn't really until 1938 when the name was established in full. Hitler's goal here was a car for the people, provided under a quasi-socialist umbrella, where ordinary people could have a car for a modest weekly sum, with the balance basically underwritten by the Nazis. They started building the factory in what would be Wolfsburg in 1938. World War II intervened inconveniently, and that effectively halted production. Although Hitler was presented with a Type 1 cabriolet on the 20th of April 1944, his 55th birthday. That was roughly a year before his death. Hitler was a bit of a multitasker, unfortunately, also a genocidal maniac and effectively CEO of The Final Solution, the systematic execution of 6 million Jews. He was nothing if not focused. In 1942, he said, "We shall regain our health by eliminating the Jews." In a sense, Hitler was not entirely discriminatory. His homicidal mania extended to homosexuals, prisoners of war. I mean, he killed about 3 million Soviet POWs. He also mass murdered the disabled, people from other religions, and trade unionists. Had he been victorious, his official biographer would doubtless have referred to him as a racial hygienist. But basically, he was just a charismatic, intolerant, homicidal scumbag loser, and if you weren't just like him, you were in big trouble. That's the first boss of Volkswagen. Hitler's legacy is less Volkswagen, obviously, and more the extermination of 11 million people. He makes Osama bin Laden look like an amateur. Hitler is most passionately despised, I think, for the gas chambers, a kind of mass production facility where the end product is dead people. The gas du jour was Zyklon B, a kind of sexed up hydrogen cyanide that disrupts cellular metabolism and kills you pretty efficiently. 70 milligrams is enough to kill a person in about 2 minutes. So you get plenty of bang for your buck with Zyklon B. Hitler killed about 1 million people in this way, a not insignificant proportion in absolute terms, I think you'd agree. I mention this because even today, 7 decades later, you'd expect Volkswagen to be vestigially sensitive about conduct related to gas or gas chambers. And the fact that they are apparently not is another brick in the wall highlighting Volkswagen's absent moral compass. Let's say I have this brilliant idea in 2014 and I take it to the boss. He refers it up, and here it is. Let's build little gas chambers. We'll pack them with monkeys and feed them toxic diesel exhaust and research the effects of the fumes in America. What management structure actually approves this? The balance of probability explanation for greenlighting this black experiment is money. A well-financed attempt to produce seemingly academic research, the goal of which would be to influence political debate and preserve tax privileges for diesel fuel and diesel cars. Ultimately unsuccessful, I think you'd agree. And if a few monkeys have to go, well, it's hardly 1 million Jews, is it? When the new Volkswagen Polo is launched in just 37 days, grab a brochure and look for the references to monkey torture. Probably omitted. Just an unspoken part of that intensive R&D used to produce what Michael Barsh claims are, quote, the most accomplished, fast and fun cars in the world. My strong advice, go and stand on the showroom floor. Volkswagen, Audi, Skoda, it doesn't matter. Same shit, different badge. Look around and tell yourself one of the things that made this possible is 10 monkeys being tortured systematically at a Volkswagen black site lab and the boardroom culture that approved these tests. In response to this disgraceful practice being exposed, Volkswagen said, "We are concerned that the scientific methods chosen at the time were wrong. It would have been better to forego such a test from the very beginning. I guess even the monkeys would agree with that, broadly, but they'd probably couch it in entirely different terms. Volkswagen also said, "We ask forgiveness for this bad behaviour and for the poor judgment of some individuals." And that is brilliant. Dressing up the preparation of a scapegoat in the form of a public apology. Like, hey, it wasn't really us, it was a rogue element. Frankly, they don't seem too upset about it. Not authentically contrite. I'm not getting that bona fide sense of full-blown remorse. Here in Australia, animal cruelty is a criminal offence, and the penalties vary by jurisdiction. The most severe occur in Queensland, where the maximum fine is almost $1.2 million for a corporation, and the maximum custodial sentence is 7 years. I'm pretty sure having 10 monkeys locked in gas chambers and sucking on exhaust in your garage at home would qualify. I'm uncertain how much mitigation the court would entertain when you tell them, quote, "But your worship, we let them watch Looney Tunes." I really doubt there's a Section 10 ruling forthcoming in that. I'll leave you with this. Recidivism is real. Hypothetically, if you rape someone's sister and apologise barely, and then you get a slap on the wrist, and then you rape someone else's sister and apologise barely, there's a point at which I probably should not let you go out on a date with my sister in the boot of your car. Society has built a box for people who do this over and over so that they just don't get to interact with anyone else's sister, and that seems entirely fair. For individuals, the box is in place, perhaps imperfectly, but it is in place. For car makers, however, there is no real penalty for this type of conduct, no meaningful censure. They apologise, they pay a fine that sounds big, but really it's not. They might sacrifice a scapegoat, but they move on and then they go out and rape someone else's sister. So if you don't mind, I'll keep Volkswagen on my don't buy list. If they're prepared to go 100% Third Reich on 10 monkeys in Perspex gas chambers in Albuquerque, I really don't recommend you doing business with them. Ultimately, voting with your feet, with your money, that's the only thing they understand. I'm John Cadogan. Thanks for watching.